Something is shifting beneath American politics, and it's happening quietly. Poll numbers wobble, rallies thin, and familiar enthusiasm no longer feels automatic. For the first time in years, cracks are appearing where loyalty once seemed unbreakable. This story isn't about headlines or scandals you already know. It's about why some longtime supporters are hesitating, doubting, or walking away. Understanding this shift explains not just one man, but the direction of an entire movement. Stay to the end, because what's happening now could reshape the next election. In this documentary, we explore how support for Donald Trump is softening even among parts of his own base. Economic frustration, legal fatigue, generational change, and shifting priorities are colliding at the same time. Some voters feel unheard, others feel exhausted, and many are simply less certain than before. These changes don't mean support has vanished, but they do suggest it's no longer guaranteed. To understand why support is changing, we have to go back to how it was built. Donald Trump rose by presenting himself as an outsider who would fight institutions many voters felt had failed them. His message connected deeply with people who felt ignored by political elites, cultural change, and economic uncertainty. Early victories reinforced loyalty, creating a sense of shared identity rather than just political agreement. But over time, the movement became less about disruption and more about defense. Repeated controversies, unfulfilled expectations, and years of constant political conflict began to wear down even committed supporters. As the political landscape shifted, some original promises felt harder to recognize. What began as a rebellion against the system slowly became entangled in it, planting the first seeds of doubt within parts of the base that once believed change would be immediate and lasting. Recent polling reveals cracks that were almost unthinkable just a few years ago. Surveys from multiple research organizations show that Donald Trump is losing small but significant portions of support among key groups that once formed his core base. Favorability ratings among independents have declined steadily, but more striking is the softening enthusiasm among Republicans themselves. Some polls indicate reduced intensity, with fewer supporters saying they are strongly behind him compared to previous election cycles. Voter fatigue also appears in turnout intention data, where a noticeable segment expresses uncertainty rather than loyalty. Approval among suburban voters, older conservatives, and some working-class supporters has slipped, even if they still lean Republican. These numbers don't signal a collapse, but they do suggest erosion. And in close elections, even small shifts can carry enormous consequences. As support shows signs of strain, government actions and institutional responses have played a major role in reshaping perceptions. Legal investigations, court rulings, and congressional inquiries connected to Donald Trump have kept him constantly linked to controversy, even when he is not holding office. At the same time, federal agencies and state governments have taken steps meant to reinforce election security, oversight, and accountability, moves his supporters often view with suspicion. Reactions from Republican leaders have been mixed. Some defend him aggressively, framing investigations as political attacks, while others distance themselves, emphasizing rule of law and institutional stability. Democratic officials, meanwhile, point to these actions as proof that no individual is above the system. Together, these government responses have created a sense of exhaustion among parts of Trump's base, who feel locked in a permanent battle between loyalty and legitimacy. Public reaction has become one of the clearest signs of shifting support. Protests around rallies and court appearances linked to Donald Trump now show a sharper divide, with energized opposition often matching or outnumbering loyal crowds. Polls reveal the same tension. While Trump still commands strong backing, surveys increasingly show softening enthusiasm among independents and even longtime Republican voters, especially when questions focus on electability rather than identity. Media coverage amplifies this trend. Conservative outlets are no longer uniformly aligned, sometimes highlighting fatigue, legal risks, or strategic losses, while mainstream media frames the decline as evidence of a changing political mood. Social media adds another layer, where viral clips, commentary, and fact checks circulate rapidly, shaping opinions in real time. Together, protests, polling data, and media narratives create a feedback loop, one that doesn't just reflect public sentiment, but actively reshapes it. Political analysts and historians see the decline in support as part of a broader pattern rather than a sudden collapse. Many experts argue that figures like Donald Trump thrive on constant momentum, and when that momentum slows, cracks begin to show. Some scholars point to voter exhaustion, saying years of non-stop controversy can wear down even loyal supporters. Others emphasize structural changes, shifting demographics, generational attitudes, and the rise of issue-focused voting over personality-driven loyalty. Campaign strategists also note that repeated claims of grievance can lose effectiveness over time, especially when voters prioritize stability or winning elections. Legal experts add another layer, explaining that ongoing court cases create uncertainty that donors, party leaders, and pragmatic voters tend to avoid. In this context, experts don't describe Trump's support as disappearing, but as fragmenting, becoming narrower, more intense, and less adaptable to a changing political landscape. The shifts in support around Donald Trump are not only an American story, they send ripples across the world. International leaders, markets, and allies closely watch changes within his political base because U.S. elections shape global stability. When Trump's influence appears less certain, foreign governments recalibrate their strategies, unsure whether his America First approach will return at full force. In Europe, some populist movements that once echoed his rhetoric have struggled as his dominance looks less inevitable. Global financial markets also react to this uncertainty, with investors weighing potential changes in trade policy, NATO commitments, and diplomatic tone. Even rivals like Russia and China monitor these shifts, adjusting expectations about U.S. leadership and consistency. In this way, declining support at home doesn't stay domestic, it alters perceptions of American power, reliability, and direction far beyond U.S. borders. Looking ahead, the weakening support of Donald Trump among parts of his base raises important questions for the future of American politics. Analysts suggest several possible scenarios. One is a gradual rebuilding of enthusiasm if he addresses voter fatigue, refines messaging, and reasserts influence in key states. Another possibility is a long-term decline, where emerging Republican leaders capitalize on voter frustration to reshape the party. Some experts also see a more polarized landscape, with committed supporters doubling down while the soft base drifts away, creating narrower but intensely loyal factions. Legal outcomes, economic shifts, and international events could further amplify or weaken his position. The path forward is far from predetermined, and each development, positive or negative, could dramatically alter the trajectory of U.S. politics and influence the next election cycle in unpredictable ways. When examining the shifting support for Donald Trump, a clear debate emerges among experts, commentators, and voters themselves. On one side, supporters argue his impact is undeniable. He energized the base, challenged entrenched political norms, and achieved significant policy changes. They see loyalty as justified, viewing critics as biased or disconnected from the realities of his accomplishments. On the other side, skeptics highlight the risks of over-reliance on personality politics, the legal challenges he faces, and the apparent erosion of trust even among traditional allies. Poll data, social sentiment, and media coverage suggest that what once seemed unwavering may now be conditional, with pros weighed against real or perceived cons. This debate frames not just his political survival, but also the broader questions of governance, party unity, and voter priorities in an evolving political landscape. As we've explored, support for Donald Trump is no longer as solid as it once appeared. From the origins of his rise to shifting voter sentiment, legal pressures, public reaction, and global implications, the picture is complex and evolving. While his base remains passionate in pockets, cracks are emerging that could influence not only elections but the future of his party and American politics itself. These developments remind us that loyalty in politics is never guaranteed, and even the most influential figures face scrutiny and change. As viewers, we want to hear from you. Do you believe Trump's support can recover fully, or is this the beginning of a long-term shift? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss how these trends might shape the years ahead.